How about that intro, guys? We just got that new intro done. Very, very nice, right? Okay. If you're new here, my name is Anthony.
My name is Mina.
My name is Mark.
George Solomon.
And today we're joined with our first guest, very, very special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Andrew Yousef.
Clap that up, Andrew Yousef. And just a side note, guys, we just created a new form. We want to use the form to get either your feedback from anything from the cameras, audio, lighting, to suggestions about topics for the next episodes, or if you had any questions about anything we talked about in our episodes. We're going to put that link in the description, and we're also going to take this time to plug the TikTok that we have, what else? Instagram. And did we get anything started on the Spotify yet?
I mean, it's made, but the SoundCloud, I believe the SoundCloud we made it.
SoundCloud is being made, yeah.
We're probably going to stick to SoundCloud. Yeah. So we're going to plug in on the screen. We're going to put the TikTok, we're going to put the Instagram, and we're going to put the SoundCloud.
I mean, they're all the same. It's Scarlet Sermons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you just search it. I just want to say, these suggestions really do help us. Number one, the table banging. I think at least the entire Instagram. Yeah. Right, the entire Instagram. So these suggestions really do help us. So if you have anything, like, please, let us know, put it in, and we'll take care of it.
Yeah. And even from our intro video, a lot of people just DMing, giving advice. We really do appreciate that. Just people coming up to us, talking to us, what we could improve, and anything like that. It's really appreciated. So do not be scared, because the link is also anonymous. Do not be scared to just take your time and fill out that link. Any questions, anything, we're there, and we're definitely reading everything. So yeah. Also,
if you don't have time to watch the full episode, the TikTok and Instagram will have small clips of the more important stuff that happened in the episode. So if you guys don't have time, you guys can always check the socials for the small clips.
A little bit about Andrew. So through our high school years and youth at church, he was our servant, and over the course of the high school years, we got really close with him. We learned a lot about him, and we all decided together that he'd be a really good guest on our podcast, just because we know him so well, and we believe that he has a lot of knowledge on the topic that we chose today. Mina, do you want to go into depth a little bit about the topic that we chose and anything about it?
So the topic we'll have to start off, obviously, with the topic of us guys being in college. One of the more important factors is your friend group, the people you surround yourself with. So I thought Andrew would be a very good speaker on that, so that's why we brought him in. But yeah, and you could go more in depth about yourself, give him a bio.
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, I'm just incredibly honored that you guys decided to even think about me for this, really. Little known fact about me. Back when I was in college, I had this crazy idea before podcasts were even cool. Okay, so it wasn't a thing yet. Where I wanted to start my own radio station. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know whether it was going to be podcasts didn't exist back then. Yeah. The reason being is because I was so obsessed with sports, and me and my friends every morning we would ride the bus together. We would debate sport topics back and forth, and we saw all these people back in the day making millions and millions and millions of dollars just talking about sports. They never play sports in their life. They're all fat like us, all this stuff, and they're making money. I'm like, dude, we have more crazy conversations and more insight, and I feel like, not to be too pretentious or anything, but we had more knowledge. At least we felt that way. We were like, yo, we should start something. And I was talking to a bunch of my friends. We always chickened out. We never wanted to put up the money for it. We were broke, whatever. And now you guys have decided to pick up that mantle. You guys decided to put your money where your mouth is, do something. Very incredibly proud of you guys, not only for doing that, but you're kind of living out my dream here. So I'm very, very, very proud of you guys.
Thank you. We're glad to have brought you with us on this dream.
Yeah, dude. When you guys texted me, I was like, I have to make this happen. This is a lifelong dream for me. There's no way I'm gonna, say no to this opportunity. But just to kind of elaborate with, I know that the topic today is all about friend groups and balanced friend groups, and you guys already kind of introduced it a little bit. I'm not gonna put any of you on the spot here, okay? But there was a main theme that I always preach to you guys, always in class. Not just me, just all the servants together, okay? And that theme was unity. Unity, unity, unity. I told you guys, if you guys are going to cause trouble together. No problem. If you guys are going to be good, then you all have to be good together. Kind of like the no man left behind type of mentality. You know what I mean? So having this balanced friend group, or just like having a friend group in general in college and having that support system, to me is everything. Like if I didn't do or study with people around me that were kind of doing the same thing and had similar goals and aspirations, I honestly don't think that I would be here. But for you guys, I'm going to ask you guys, do you guys feel like since you graduated, did you guys fraction off into smaller groups? Are there still one main group and then there's, a couple little cliques here? What do you guys think? What kind of happened?
Even throughout, so I just want to clarify something. So when Anthony Crass mentioned youth, it's for high school years from 9th grade to 12th grade. So going through, junior high from 8th grade graduating to 9th grade as a high schoolers, you already know who your cliques are, right? So you have your main boys, you know who the entire class is. So our class usually averaged 40 to 45 people. So we are aware who the Egyptian boys were. And we know all about each other, but it was very clear, right? 9th grade, you had your boys, you had your group chats. I know that was a huge thing, having group chats.
It
and
was
not being
excluded
involved.
from which group chat. It was not. It was blocked. Yeah.
But everyone had their, clique. Everyone had their group, and me personally, right? I had my boys, and I just know they were my boys, right? And I knew the other kids existed, and I knew that they were there, but it's like I never cared to really get to them because I had my boys, and I didn't need anything else.
Sure.
Right, and there was no need to go into adventure out because my boys fulfilled me enough. Right. But as you said, like unity was such a big thing, and I think we didn't take like action enough for that because I knew that if we had 40 guys, East Brunswick High School, if we had all 40 of us together, we would take over the school. Right. No one could stop us. You tell me,
strength in numbers. Yeah,
40-year-old teachers gonna tell us what to do. No, right? You have a crew of 40, but we had these small cliques of 5 people in this one group, 5 people in that group. Then you had a clique of maybe 3, and then the kids who didn't find themselves with other groups, they would have like by themselves, right? So then that just like created such like a cascade of like different social groups, and that's what hurts. Right. When you say that we're a bunch of Christians, especially that we call ourselves Christians, right? And inside the church you can't even have like a whole group, right? To call like that's my brother.
Sure.
Right. I can say that Anthony Christ is my brother because I grew up with him. Sure. But for George Solomon, for example, I didn't really grow up with him, so I'm not gonna call him. He's my brother. Yeah. But we're grown up to.
Actually,
I'm not his brother.
But it's crazy. It's crazy that you mentioned. It's crazy that you mentioned George because George, you came in later in the class, right? Was it the beginning of senior year or like end of junior year?
So I moved to East Brunswick like ever since I came to the U.S. But the thing is with like the way I started to like explore friend groups was that I went to St. Mary's, but it's not that I didn't like it. It was very different. It was very different than the church I had when I grew up. So everybody was different. Everything was so different, and so that's why I kind of like leaned more towards like an Arabic church, like more of Egyptian church kind of way, which was like Piscataway. I think that's the only way I was like able to find like my my niche was to just be around other like Arab kids, like Egyptian kids, right? Sure. And then like over the time when I got very acclimated with everybody. And then we were together in high school, and they said come over to EB, and then that's when I started going to EB, and I found my niche with them. Right. So you're not gonna always get it from the first time. It's not always gonna click, and it never clicked from the beginning, but like over time it did, and then we grew that brotherhood, and now we're
starting podcasts together.
We're doing a podcast.
Yeah, see that? See how that works?
Yeah. So that's how it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's good. It's good to get your perspective because, like, I think that if you came or you were here or tried to join the group maybe in 9th grade, when you guys were in 9th grade, you guys, no secret, there was a lot of difficulties there. You know what I mean? We had a lot of growing up to do when we were in 9th grade. But if you would have came then, you may not have been as accepted. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like as 9th graders, especially as guys, I feel like we could be very territorial at times. You know what I mean? Like Mark, when you opened up, you're like, yo, my boys were my boys, whatever. Absolutely. Like anyone outside the group, they don't really care as much. I knew they existed, that type of thing, but my boys were my boys, So George, if you, a matter of a couple of years, we may not have been sitting here and, talking and being such great friends and doing all that stuff. But it just goes to show that as you kind of mature and you kind of make, your thought processes and your goals and everything become different, you're much more willing to accept people into into your life, and you see where goals kind of align, and you kind of make it's another brother to add to your family. Who would say no to another brother? You know,
I wouldn't say no to any of them. I think just to relate to what Mark said, it can also be like a trap if you're just with boys with those boys, like those are my boys, because that could also be a trap because maybe you and your boys may not be the best combination for each other, right? So it's like that's what I'm trying to say. It's like don't fall in that trap where it's like, oh, those are my boys, but then it turns out that you and your boys are in a very deep hole,
right?
And you keep digging yourself in.
Yeah.
And I think that's today. We're gonna discuss that today.
Yeah.
With this topic, so I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Sure.
I had a similar similar upbringing to George. I didn't grow up with like Mark or Crass. I came to the group in like 9th, 10th grade. I used to go to a different church, obviously. Even though first I came to EB, but I left for a bit, went to a different church, and then started coming back in like 10th grade. The reason why I think I clicked with them, stayed with them until like now I'm actually like very close with them. They're like in 9th grade there was a bit of troubles, but in 10th and 11th grade I started seeing like this group as like a group I can grow up with. So before then I used to go to liturgy, like services wasn't an issue for me. It wasn't until I like was with them, started going to like EB, that I realized like there's more to like our faith than just services. There's like more depth about learning like what it is, what it's about. And I feel like me getting closer to them allowed me to actually go to youth more, allowed me to learn more about it. So I think that was a huge benefit of getting close to them.
Sure.
And I also think it's really interesting to get George and Mina's input on the situation. Because, for example, I know for me and Mark, to be completely honest, we didn't really have a problem with our friends. We were kind of in that group where, it's just the clique and it's us, just don't really care about other people. Which is, of course, now looking back on it, it's kind of like upsetting to say, just kind of disregarding everyone else's feelings, but that's just how it was. And over time, growing up, like you said, 10th, 11th grade, you kind of just see everything branch out and see how, like, we're not the only people in the world, and that there's other people who, like, come to church who also share the same opinions as you. And I was thinking about it earlier today, how like when the people you hang around with and their ideas, like that's the type of person you want to be with.
Right.
So all of us coming together and let's go to Zbaha, let's go to liturgy, all this stuff, that brought us all really close together. And not to jump the gun, but now that we're in college, we saw kind of that veil fall down of just you have your friends, like whoever is there is there. Like if we're gonna have fun and you're here, like you're coming with us. There's no exclusion anymore.
Right.
I think it's kind of just part of growing up, but yeah, that's kind of just what I was thinking about the situation. I don't know.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I think things just like us servants, we kept telling you guys for a long time, especially junior into senior year, that college is just different. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're not prepared, if you're not, ready to kind of face those challenges, then it was going to hit you in the face very, very hard. Yeah. So, like, we drilled, like, knowing your faith. Knowing your faith was a critical thing. You know what I mean? How many times did you guys would raise your hands, in class thinking that you were going to get this simple softball answer and, get a gold star, and then Mark Mina would be like, what do you mean by that? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? God is love. Like, what are you talking about? Do you believe what you're saying? But I think that those moments in class was like, they were like aha moments. You know what I mean? Like I think for a lot of us, including us servants, because we realized very, very quickly that your class had so much potential. You know what I mean? So we couldn't serve you in that very conventional way of just like lessons and then we're done. You know what I mean? There had to be some challenging thought processes and things that we had to kind of like spark in you guys in order to reach the potential that you guys are at today. As far as the friend group goes, I wanted to say one thing because Mina was mentioning the brotherhood in the that we started feeling in the class and him starting to feel accepted and all that kind of stuff. Everyone knows, and it's one of those cliche lines, but we're all the body of Christ, right? Mm-hmm. The body of Christ is in of itself, when you look at that term, it's unification. We're all one body in Christ, right? So anytime that you have different factions or different separations in that body, you're causing harm to the body of Christ, okay? So that's very, very, very important for us to kind of think about. And I'm happy that you guys are saying things like the veil comes down, or if like you're here, you're going to have fun with us. That's like the people who tore up that body, you guys are putting it back together through the grace of God. You know what I mean? To me, that's beautiful. The other thing too is like, in order to experience God's love or Christ's love, you know what I mean? You kind of have to experience love in different levels first before you can understand Christ's love to begin with. You know what I mean? So for example, when you guys are, little kids, you know that your parents love you, okay? And you understand your parents love you, and they kind of show that love in different ways. They provide for you. When you fell down when you were a little kid, your mom would clean up your knee, your scraped knee, all that kind of stuff. You realize that was love. And then if you had siblings, when your sibling would share with you that one time, you know what I mean, whatever, you start to realize, okay, my brother, my sister, they love me too. But what's even crazier, I think, and it's the love that's described in Scripture, the philo type of love, the love that St. Peter showed to Christ, but Christ wanted that agape love, that higher level love. That philo love is love between brothers. You know what I mean? You have to learn to experience or know what philo love is before you can ever get to that ultimate level of love, which is agape love, So that philo love is what you guys are experiencing right now, love amongst brothers. You know what I mean? And that hits different because, like, your family is supposed to love you. Your siblings are supposed to love you. And they're supposed to, you're obviously unified with your family because you're tied with them with blood. But when you guys, friends are the family that you choose, So when you guys are choosing to love each other, that's that philo type of love that, like I said, just hits different. It's like you feel so much support. It's like you'll die for your brother. You feel like that immense amount of unification, which, you definitely have to experience first. And then you can jump to that next level or even begin to understand how much God loves you. Like if your brother loves you this much and your family loves you this much, how much more is the inventor of love, God, love you? You know what I mean? So I think that's why, this topic in general, it's like, this is a beautiful thing to start with. Just not only, us talking about it here, but just the podcast in general. You guys are starting with unification, with love, with friend groups. That's all something that, you can springboard off of and accomplish great things with.
I think, Andrew, I want to add on to that. It's like in Proverbs, I remember reading the Bible. It said, a friend is closer than a brother. And it's something that's like really important to keep in mind, because if your friend is going to be closer than your brother, then you have to make sure that your friend is a good friend, because then you don't want to be in a really good and a tight friendship with a friend that's taking you down with him. And during college, you're going to have so many friends. You're going to see people from left and right, churches and stuff like that, and you have to really it sounds like you're just going to be like, I don't want to be friendly with everyone, but you can be friendly with everyone, but your group that Mark was talking about has to be that circle. That circle has to be beneficial to you. You all have to grow together. And this is what servants like Andrew and Mark, Mina, and everyone else have built in us, is to grow together and to be together in unity and take each other and go up, instead of being this whole group where it's like we're all taking each other down. This is exactly what we've learned from class, and this is something I've taken from high school into college. It's to like, if there's a negative moment between a friendship, you should be a positive influence and take everyone up.
Sure.
So I think that's a.
I want to transition that. So, it's always said you need to have good friends, right? And that's the verse George was talking about. It's a trusted friend is better than a brother, right? So I want to transition it to now. Now you have a friend group. As you were growing up, like, how do you know who is a good friend and what's a bad friend? Because you can have, I'm going to say personally, like, I have friends that I know I can call at 3 a.m. and say, hey, I'm stuck, like,
right.
I need your help.
Right.
And I also know I have other friends that will call me at night and say, hey, come to liturgy tomorrow.
Sure.
Right? So it's like, what's the line between I know that this person has my back, but he may not be the best for me, like, spiritually? And what's the difference between, like, someone who I know has my back spiritually, but, like, in the world, like, they won't really be there
right.
for me. So what's the line, do you think?
So honestly, I don't think that there's any necessarily a clear line as when it comes to friends like that. But I think deep down, everyone knows who their best friends are. You know what I mean? Those diehards that you just have that gut instinct within inside of all of you that person is going to be there until the day you die. You know what I mean? Everyone knows who that is. It could be one person. It could be two people. In some rare cases, it could be 3 or 4 people. Okay? And if that's the case, then you're truly blessed. But I'm going to say with some friends who are not spiritual, for example, okay? St. Paul says something, and it's really something that I always live by, and it's, all things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just because something is lawful, just because someone is a good friend, is a person, that's there, and he's a genuine person and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't align with your spiritual goals, it's kind of really hard to keep that friend around, okay? And to excel in what you want to excel in. You know what I mean? So first and foremost, we're Christians. I know you guys are in college, you want to study, you want to do all these things, but first and foremost, we're Christians. So if you feel like a person is in your friend group who maybe isn't as encouraging in what they're supposed to be doing in church, or isn't as encouraging, like, yo, where you at tonight? Yo, I'm heading to this bad. No, come to Applebee's, like, half off the abs, come on, like, do that thing, whatever. Then it's like, it's kind of hard. That person he doesn't mean harm.
Yeah.
It's not harm. You know what I mean? But is it edifying for you? And at a certain point in college, you kind of have to think of that way. It's not like you're going to wait till your friend starts doing drugs and you're going to say, yo, you're cut off. Drugs, it's too much for me. You know what I mean? But, like, you have to, like, kind of see, like, those meaningful friendships are the ones that you have with people who align in your goals. You know what I mean? So just be very, very careful in keeping people around that, even though they're nice and they're really, really good people, they will hold you back. You know what I mean? And this is the time where you gotta excel. This is like the most free, believe it or not, and the best time of your lives so far, for sure. And there's people that, are kind of like wolves in sheep's clothing. Like, they seem so innocent on the outside, but if you get too close to them and you trust them a little too early, it can end up, not being so well for you in the end.
And so off of that point, so say for anyone listening, or even any of us, say you're in a situation like that, and if you've ever been in a situation like that, how would you go about detaching from a person like that, or a friend like that, without being like kind of like rude about it, or just what's the best way to do that?
Sure. So I'm going to talk from personal experience. Okay. Yeah, I never like speaking in absolutes. So I don't, remember, I don't know, whenever, like, I would teach you guys a lesson, or I would raise my hand and I would say something in class, or I do whatever. There's certain things that us servants, when we teach and we say, it's not us teaching, it's Christ that taught, and we're just parrots that are repeating. Okay. When we're in that mode, that's law. You know what I mean? Because we're talking from Scripture, we're talking from the Church Fathers, we're talking from very reliable sources that no one dares question. You know what I mean? But then there's times where I'd be like, guys, this is Andrew Yousef's opinion, meaning that you could take what I say, you can crumple it up, you can throw it in the garbage, and it's completely fine. You know what I mean? But I'm going to give you my opinion because it could be a different perspective on how you should handle things. So this is one of those moments. I'm going to give you my opinion, but it's by no means an absolute of how you should act. Okay? For me, distancing myself from a person is the way that I kind of remove myself from that situation and kind of have it so that we're not that close anymore. Okay? So if that means that that friend is constantly hitting you up, and instead of you answering right away on your phone, you answer an hour and a half later, it sends a very subtle message. Okay? Eventually, after doing that multiple times, the message will be kind of loud and clear. And I don't think it's necessarily rude. You know what I mean? Not everyone has to respond to a text message, like that, except if it's your mom or your dad, basically, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody else, you can kind of let them wait a little bit. I'm in the middle of something, I'm studying, I'm doing whatever. You could definitely take your time in answering. I think that kind of sends the message. I'm not a big fan of being, like, very dramatic when it comes to these things, okay? You kind of end up in a lot of trouble. So you're like, you know what, I'm going to cut it off with this friend, and you kind of treat it like, a breakup with your girlfriend. No, don't do that, okay? Don't be like, hey, come meet me at, the park, I want to just talk, whatever you guys are walking. By the way, I just don't want to be friends anymore. You know what I mean? I think that just
messed up.
Yeah, it ends up being like, a very bad and awkward situation, and then the person's going to be like, dude, like, who's this self-righteous person who just thinks I'm holding them down? Actually, you're the one holding, you know what I mean? It starts a lot of these arguments, and I think it's just not good. If you feel like somebody just doesn't align with you, with your goals, and you want that type of separation, you could do so very subtly. Just don't answer text messages a lot. You can honestly choose that time instead of going out with them. Be like, listen, I'm a little busy, I want to study, I have some catching up I have to do. And very slowly things kind of drift apart. You'll see that person will make other friends, they'll be happy because they'll find people that are like-minded in their goals, and then you'll be happy and you'll find similar people. You know what I mean? So I think, have you guys, just to transition a little bit, Have you guys found that similar spaces of study was a divider amongst you guys at all? Meaning, like, did all the engineers kind of come together, and then all the med kids kind of got together, the dental kids, the farm kids? What do you guys feel kind of happened, or were you guys are you still all united right now, or what?
So, when we study, it's kind of all just in one building.
Okay.
The one, it's
which
the Mabel.
building?
It's called Mabel.
It's called
Mabel. Okay.
This building is.
It's
Okay.
the Mabel Library on the Douglas campus.
Sure.
Everyone's kind of just like spread around in that building.
Okay.
And it's not like I think it's just because there's not like a influx of like one major. Like everyone's kind of just like all around, and also some people who don't know what they're majoring in yet, like stuff like that. So me personally, I'm the only computer science. I know there's a lot of engineers who like maybe they have their own group chat to discuss like assignments, but it's not really like a friendship thing. And there's also like med, but everyone kind of just studies together, and it's not like a big problem. At least that's what I think. I don't see anything.
So I want to add. So as an engineer, we have probably our entire grade of the sophomore grade is 98%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
majority is engineer.
Okay. Cool.
So we will most likely hang out. So if we're all in lecture, it comes out 3:20. Me and Andrew Michael are probably at Costco.
Not probably.
Costco, it's an interesting place to hang out, but I like it.
Oh my goodness!
I like it.
You get the $1.50
$1.50 hot dog.
soda combo. You get
Listen,
chicken
man.
bake $3.99. Oh,
You're preaching to the choir right now.
It's crazy. It's
that's
crazy. This is
beautiful.
college life right there. Costco.
amazing.
We have to get a sponsorship with Rutgers.
Yeah, Jamaica's smiling
Crazy,
right now.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Honestly, it's smart because I didn't even think about Costco. I was like,
It's like it's great.
wow,
Like,
dude, that's
out of lecture, like all the engineers just come together, and I've like, just hung out with a bunch of my boys who are engineers just because we'd come out of lecture together, right? All
Right.
our schedules fit together,
of course.
so like that's who I'm with all the time.
Right.
And again, as Chris said, like after lecture, if we're all bored, we're all going to Mabel, right? That's just the hub.
Right.
But yeah, definitely, if we're all together after lecture, we're all hungry, we all want to get something to eat. Like that's who we formed. Our group is the engineers.
Right.
That's true.
I think for me, the medicine kids, they are tight. We're tight because there's like about 4 or 5 of us, or 6, I think. But basically, what we do is that we're taking the same courses. We're on the same path. And then in medicine, it's not just very like straightforward. I'm gonna get my degree, find a job, boom. It's about I'm gonna get my degree, but also with getting my degree, I'm gonna shadow. I'm gonna all that medical school nonsense. So what ends up happening is that we're supporting each other. If Mark is doing something, I ask him about it. There's a little connection there. I'm really friends with Carl and Fadi Yousef and stuff like that, and we study chemistry together. So there's like that friendship is through like the classes, the courses we're doing. I find that to be the strongest friendship because it's a very testing friendship, because if me and you are studying for something right now, and you are, let's say, a bad friend, and you don't study, you don't do your part, and then you come to study, you're bringing us all down. You're slowing us all down. And then there's also the other point around where it's like, if you know something and then you don't say it, and then we all go to the exam and then we all don't get it, but you got it, then it's a little interesting. Okay. So it's a very testing, but it's actually going pretty well.
Good.
And yeah, I found like that, like if you study with your friends for a certain goal, even if you have no idea what's going on in the class, you still get through it.
Right.
So yeah.
And me, on the shorter end of the straw, I'm like the only computer science major in my grade besides Kiro, and I'm like one class behind him. It's kind of hard to like do that, have a group where you're studying. You kind of have to branch out to either like office hours or the random people in your class,
right?
Which I'm not really comfortable doing. I'm kind of shy when I go to reach out with people.
Yeah.
So like studying for computer science, it's like way harder without having a support system or friends.
Right.
Just because kind of like you're learning a whole new language, and like Mark has engineering, all those people. He and George has like a good group. It's like being alone. It's like hard.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, like I remember when we were in school, like you had like the poli-sci kids. Those are the kids who were going to be lawyers. You know what I mean? Then you had like the med school kids or the / dental kids. They were by themselves. You had the kids who were already in farm school. They were on their own curriculum. But like studying late night till like 1 or 2 in the morning with your friends who are studying the same subject and we're dying together. there's like a crazy camaraderie that forms through suffering. Always, like through suffering, there's always an amazing camaraderie, that forms that lasts. It really lasts such a long time. Like all those people are very, very close with even till this day. You know what I mean? And then we look down, we're like all wearing scrubs. We're like, God has blessed us. Like we made it through. And if it wasn't for your brothers, if it wasn't for your sisters who were studying next to you, you probably wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? Right now. So.
So yeah, Andrew. So for me and my friend group, like Carl and Fedi, Yousef, and when we study, we have a thing going on. It's called Road to Glory, and for every time we study, we take like a 30-second clip. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're studying now. So then we all make it to med school, and we're all in our, hopefully in our white coats. We're gonna be able to do a whole slide
montage,
literally montage of every single study session.
That's awesome.
So I mean, that's something great that we're doing right now.
I don't want to go on for too long because I want to give Andrew the floor to end it off. But as Andrew was saying earlier, sometimes the people you study with in college, they have the same studies, same end goal. You normally stay close to. You suffer together. I think at the end of the day, all of us, just like in college, we're all working up towards heaven. We all have the same goal. So I think, especially you get to a certain degree with your friends where you can share that bond, you can share that emotion of suffering with Christ, getting closer to Christ. So I think just as people get closer in college because of their studies, I think having Christ in the foundation and the center of your friendships, you're all working towards one goal, you can all relate to it. I think that was an important factor for especially all of us that I think even now in college helped us get closer.
Yeah. Listen, I'm very impressed by all of you here. I've always been impressed by your class. You guys are well ahead of where I was, okay, at your age. Well ahead in the way that you're thinking and the way that you're going and conducting yourselves, and just the fact that you're saying that that your goal is to go to heaven as a sophomore in college. I can't say that was necessarily an immediate goal for me. My goal was, I want to make more friends, or I want to have fun, or what am I going to do with my life? I got to figure out what I'm going to do and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't have my true epiphany until maybe the end of my sophomore year, and at that point I was a very, very small infant in my spirituality. I felt stupid. I felt like this epiphany moment should have come a lot earlier. You know what I mean? I felt like a lot of you kind of felt that senior year of high school. You know what I mean? I saw it with the senior dinner. I saw when we went on the trip to the monastery later in the year. A lot of us were. I saw you guys. You went from young boys to men and soldiers for Christ. And if you guys go in with the mentality that all you're going to do is all this stuff on the outside, studying, making friends, it's all amazing. But if your one goal is, I'm going to make it to heaven and I'm going to drag as many of my family members and my friends with me, then that's the ultimate goal. You guys are not only fulfilling your purpose of being on earth and fulfilling your purpose of being a Christian on earth, but you will be very, very fulfilled inside. You will feel like you have a purpose. And I think that's the biggest thing in today's world, is you see a lot of people who don't have purpose, and they find their purpose in things that the devil kind of gets them to be obsessed over and to find a purpose in. You guys guard yourselves. The devil walks around like a roaring lion, seeking to whom he may devour. Know that in college, he's the biggest lion you've ever seen, okay? And he's ready to destroy, and he's ready for any vulnerable moment. So you have to be very careful, be on guard, constantly support one another, love each other. And God is always with you guys, really.
Thank you, sir. And we just want to thank you so much, Andrew, for being our first guest. And honestly, I can't imagine if this could get any better. As our first episode, I honestly learned so much from this.
It's all you guys.
I had a lot of fun filming with you. I'm sure everyone else did. And again, we're so thankful we could have had you.
Same here. Thank you guys so much, and remember to pray for me. Pray for my family.
Yeah. So again, this has been Anthony.
This is Mina.
This is Mark.
Or Solomon.
This is Andrew.
And we're so happy that you guys were with us tonight. And we hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you guys.